My name is Jay Nathan, and I'm managing partner of Customer Imperative. We're a consulting firm. We work with B2B technology companies to help them implement customer success strategies. I think KPIs they're an important part of every business, but we have to remember that KPIs and metrics are only a proxy for what our strategy is. Even when you get your KPIs designed, you have to revisit them constantly and make sure that you're still in line with the strategy of your company and still aligned with how you're going to be successful with your customers, and make sure you're measuring the right things. As a customer success manager, I think there are things we think of as lagging indicators, and then there are things that we think of as leading indicators. And lagging indicators are things like renewal rates, retention rates, even things like net promoter score and customer sentiment, things that sort of tell us the result, like how do we do after all was said and done. But the reality is that we need to be looking at leading indicators as customer success managers to help us understand how we're going to, how we're trending. How are we at risk of not hitting our renewal numbers? Are we at risk of having unhappy clients? And so I look at those leading indicators as things that are more like customer health indicators that we can use to help us gauge how our customers are doing with our products. Typically, we'll start with onboarding. One of the most important metrics typically for most B2B SaaS organizations is time to value. So how quickly are you getting your customers from the point of purchase to the place where they're actually starting to reap some of the benefits that they expected to receive out of the products? I think number two, from a leading indicator perspective, from an adoption perspective. One is customer sentiment, like how are they feeling about what's going on? Do they feel prepared to do it? Do they anticipate being successful in getting benefit from the solution? And you can do that by asking and surveying customers. So that's important, but then you can also watch their usage and adoption. Now, usage and adoption of the product itself is a little bit of a lagging indicator. So what you need to do is look at things like, have we gotten them through training? Do we have the right number of users signed up into the system? So some of those are leading indicators to being able to measure those lagging indicators of adoption that do matter in terms of whether the customer is going to get benefit out of what we're doing. And then renewal rates, have we had the right conversations? Are we having the right touch points with the customer all along the way? Throughout the customer journey, are we tracking that and measuring that activity and how it impacts our renewal rates? Renewal rate being the lagging indicator and the activities that we're engaging being the leading indicators. So categories that I think of risk or health indicators are like account management, adoption and utilization, relationship status, product fit, which is a really important one, and then service performance, like how are we doing on delivery. In account management, it's things like, do we have competitors in the mix? Have we been able to verify with the customer that they've achieved their outcomes, right? So some of those account management things, have they paid their invoices recently? Are they overdue to sign a renewal contract? So some of those type of things. Adoption is, have they selected the right set of modules? Have they bought the right set of tools that are going to meet their needs? Utilization, are they actually using those things? Have they been active in the last 14 days, last 7 days, last 30 days, whatever it is for your product? Have they grown their licenses over the last 12 months? Reaching the desired outcome itself is a lagging indicator, right? Of course, we want them to reach their desired outcome, but we have to do all the other things ahead of that correctly for them to do so. So I look at really simple things when it comes to desired outcomes. So number one is, have we even defined what their desired outcomes are? Number two is, have they been able to achieve it, which we'll only really know if, number one, our product has data that informs that. But number two is if we're continuing to have that dialogue with the customer. And, for enterprise customers, that's a one-on-one dialogue. And for the smaller customer accounts where you can't afford to have one-on-one dialogue, that's more of a digital kind of engagement, right? We know that our customers generally get one of three categories of value out of our product. Which one is most important? Have them select that, and then check back in with them on a regular basis to make sure that they're They're getting that. Having tools can be deceiving because they don't solve these problems for us. We still have to have a good strategy. Typically, when we work with an organization, we find that the CRM, it's usually Salesforce.com, is vastly underutilized. And so there's a lot of capabilities. You can configure Salesforce to track some of these key indicators and begin today. Number two is, if you don't have Salesforce or you can't do that, then start on a spreadsheet. Like, just don't let the lack of tooling stop you from defining what health looks like. You have to have a good definition of what that should look like, of what those key indicators are, and what data you need to do that. And that's best done, in an analytical environment like Excel before you codify it into a system anyway. So get started, no matter what.